On Monday, the Louisville Orchestra's new executive director, Andrew Kipe, named his new partner in leading the 76-year-old institution for the coming years.
It is my great pleasure at this time to introduce to you the Louisville Orchestra's newest music director, Teddy Abrams.
Teddy Abrams, whose career has been on the rise in recent years, comes to the Louisville Orchestra from the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, where he was named assistant conductor in 2011. In Louisville, he spoke some about what he'd like to see happen here.
Hopefully we'll get that kind of response at the end of the concerts, too. So thank you so much. I could not be any more happy and certainly not be any more honored to have this position, to be the music director of the great Louisville Orchestra.
Abrams comes to the institution after hard times befell this orchestra 3 years ago. That's when its former leadership filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. But last spring, the orchestra musicians signed a contract with many concessions, and the institution began to look at rebuilding itself. At his appearance in Louisville Monday, Abrams took time to talk about working recently with the musicians and more.
When I conducted the rehearsals, that was just an exploration. That was really just a getting to know you kind of event. Whereas the concert was much more of a dedicated rehearsal and concert situation where we were really focusing on specific repertoire and getting it performance ready. So it actually was extremely helpful to do both kind of situations. First, just to see maybe what's possible and get to know each other in a general sense, and then to prepare for the specifics of a real concert. And what I noticed is, above all, an incredible willingness to try and to explore musical depth. I noticed that people were really excited about delving deep into the musical content and what these pieces that we were working on were really about and how we can best present them. And I noticed there was that incredible willingness and a real enthusiasm for doing that kind of deep work. And I think that made the entire process extremely rewarding and enjoyable. I will be in Louisville as much as I possibly can before the start of next season. So I'll conduct for 2 weeks in February, and I'll also be down for several other weeks for planning, for logistical reasons, figuring out what the next season is going to look like. There's a lot of strategy involved in designing a new season and thinking about what the next 3 to 5 years are going to look like too. So I need to be here on the ground getting to know all the key players and getting to know the community as best I possibly can before I officially start next season. Well, one of the fascinating things about being involved with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra is that while I think many people are aware that it's one of the finest orchestras in the United States and the world, it's also in a challenging environment. The tragedies and the ups and downs of Detroit itself are well known. But that has actually been met not with kind of despair, but with incredible optimism, because it means it's an opportunity for an orchestra to make a tremendous difference in a community that needs it. And I think my involvement in the Detroit Symphony has been nothing but observing really great positive work in that form. It's actually demonstrating why an orchestra is so important, because it does change people's lives. And if I've learned anything from my experience there, it's that Detroit is doing all the right things. They're thinking about music and how it can relate to people, especially in a big organization like a symphony orchestra. They're thinking about it in all the right ways, and they've gone so far beyond the reach that is usually expected of a symphony. They're involved in so many aspects of the community that is so heartwarming and a real great beacon for other orchestras. Doubt. Having worked in Detroit and knowing that they went through a very challenging period, not unlike the Louisville Orchestra's challenging period, has given me a really wonderful perspective on what's possible when you rise from that situation. And to watch the techniques and the various elements of that revival and of that recovery and the healing process. When people focus on the mission, and the mission is always going to be the people of your community, reaching them, they can all put aside their differences, because we all know that the orchestra's purpose is to play the music at the highest level for the widest, broadest possible audiences, to represent music in your entire community, the broadest version of that. That's something everybody can agree on. And in Detroit, they have set aside some of the differences. They have come to that common understanding that the organization is one. Same thing with the organization here. The Louisville Orchestra is one. It's all unified. Your orchestra, your staff, your board, and your community.
I'm Elizabeth Kramer, arts writer for the Courier-Journal. For more about the arts in and around Louisville, read the Courier-Journal and visit courierjournal.com.